Hello, my name is Richard Medcalf, founder of Xquadrant. I coach some of the world's top executives and management teams, helping them achieve bigger and more meaningful results than ever before. In this season, I'm speaking with C-suite leaders from around the globe to find out what the COVID-19 pandemic has taught them and what wisdom they have to share for other leaders. Welcome to Leadership Lessons for Challenging Times. This was an interesting conversation with Fred Trinel of Ecovadis. Ecovadis is a highly successful player in the sustainability space, recently raised over $200 million and are making great impact in the world. And with Fred, I really talk about not just the 2020 crisis with COVID, but also the 3 or 4 different experiences he's had as an entrepreneur from 1997 onwards, and how he's navigated those, what his playbook is, and how you can play offense and defense at the same time in order to better prepare your company for success and to manage the risks. So enjoy this conversation with Fred Trinel. Hi, Fred.
Hi, Richard. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thanks for coming on the call.
Thanks for inviting me.
So before we jump in, why don't we just ask you to give a 2-minute kind of elevator pitch on, who you are, what your background is, and what is Ecovadis for those who don't know.
Okay, so Fred Trinel. So I'm Ecovadis co-founder and co-CEO. Ecovadis is a leading rating agency on corporate social responsibility. So what we do is effectively to rate company performance on environmental, social, and business ethics. And our main clients are large corporations using our solution for their procurement team to take the right decision and help their suppliers to improve. So that's what we do. And
so it's really about providing, just to ask, so it's really about providing visibility across the supply chain of environmental impact and corporate social responsibility.
Yes. Absolutely. All those companies, they have several tens of thousands of suppliers all over the world. It's extremely hard for them to understand, what is their exposure in terms of risk, what is the level of performance of each of those companies across the globe. So what we do at Ecovadis is effectively to assess each of them and give a rating so that the procurement team can take the right decision. And it's for procurement, but we're also acting in finance world with private equity firm that want to understand what is the performance of their portfolio companies. So it's effectively also helping those companies to improve by feeding them back with some data, information, benchmark on their own performance so that they can decide on how best to improve.
Yeah, perfect. And I know it's a highly successful company. You've just raised huge amounts of money. It's going really well. So thank you for taking time out of that high growth business for this call. Tell me a bit about your background, Fred. What was the journey that led you there? And I know you were talking here about leadership in challenging times. I know you've had other challenging times, before 2020. So tell me a little bit about, your history.
No, so my background is entrepreneurship. Basically, Ecovadis is my 5th company. I've only worked for myself. I started my first business 35 years ago in Asia, in Hong Kong, where I lived for 10 years. And my major is technology and finance. So usually when I start a new company, often with a business partner, I'm doing it with Ecovadis with Pierre-François Thaler, who is focusing on the marketing and the sales side, and I do the operations. So I do everything related to technology, to finance, and in general, the production and the operation of the organization.
Great. And so tell me about some challenges. So let's perhaps jump in to, let's start right now, as we're recording this, we're still in lockdown, here in France with COVID-19. So, how have you had to adapt? Have you had, what have you had to do in Ecovadis? What's worked, and perhaps what, if you would do it again, would there be anything you would do differently?
Okay. So in Ecovadis, in effect, we were we are pretty lucky because the company is quite distributed across the world. I mean, we have like 650 employees spread in 13 offices, plus many people are working from home in area where we don't have an office, and therefore the organization was pretty ready or geared to be able to work from home, let's say. So on the operational side, we didn't suffer so much in the sense that the transition to work from home went really smoothly. Having said that, there is a number of things that we needed to do, or we decided to do, in order to make sure that we go through this crisis in the best possible manner. As you mentioned earlier, this is not the first one. I mean, I went through the Hong Kong 97, the financial crisis, with the bat and the ringgit that trigger like massive collapse of the Asian economy, through the 2001, September 11. Yeah. And I tell you a little story about this one. And so 2008, we just started Ecovadis. Ecovadis started in 2007. So we were very small at that time. So I think very nimble. We survived this one pretty easily in a sense. And now 2020. No, so those crises, help you shape, your experience and understand what are the mistakes that you will try not to do again in the future. So when you have so many behind you, there are quite a few opportunities to make mistakes, and we did certainly make mistakes. In 2001, just for the little story, we raised fund, in fact, that we received on the bank account on the Friday, September 7th. And I was flying to New York from London, where I was living, on Monday evening. That was the 10th of September, and supposed to land in New York on the 11th at 10 a.m. So that was quite a shock, of course, because the company was at that time we had 8 offices. It was a SaaS business, 8 offices across Europe, and a monthly burn rate of around 1 million. From the day to the other, one day to the other, the entire business stopped. And it stopped for like 18 months. We didn't sign any single contract. And it took probably 2 years to recover and start again the business. By that time,
what did you do then? What did you do? I mean, that's incredible.
Not the right thing. That's exactly the point. Not the right thing. We didn't do the right thing, and let me share with you why we didn't do the right thing. I mean, there is no excuse, but what we learned from this. So when you think about it, there are different types of crises. Obviously, pure financial crises, like the one in Asia in 97 and the one in 2008. They have direct impact on the economy. And then you have the crisis like 2001, and in fact this 2020, where it's not really the economy that is, having an issue primarily. It's an external factor. It's the September 11 towers attack and then the virus this time. And therefore, it's completely different crisis, because when you have an external factor, we thought at that time that the economy was fine and it will rebound and go back to normal in a couple of months. So what we didn't do, that we should have done, was to slow down and to cut cost, or at least stop the bleeding and stop increasing our cost base, which is quite the contrary of what we did at that time. We were pushed actually by external investors, for instance, to continue to accelerate. And that's what we did. And it's our fault. We should have slowed down and look at what happened and be ready for the worst. We didn't. So that's a big learning for me from the 2001 experience, was to say, you have to be extremely proactive, to anticipate and to be ready for the worst until you are sure that the worst will not happen. And with a priority to obviously protect the company and the employment and the people. So we didn't do it in 2001, and it cost us a lot, because what had to happen is that we needed to raise additional funding in a very bad context, not favorable at all for the entrepreneurs and for the historical shareholders, as you can imagine. So we learned the hard way, and this is clearly something that we did very differently in 2020. 2008, Ecovadis was too small, so we didn't have to face this kind of challenge. Huh? But now, with a company of our size, it's not a huge company, but still, I mean, 650 people is significant.
Yeah.
We immediately, as soon as we identified that there is something extraordinary happening, because in fact it's something really extraordinary, you can expect that it's going to have extraordinary impact on your business. And
unpredictable, right? It's hard to know. It's hard to know what's going to happen, all the effects.
But one thing is sure is that, one thing is sure, it's not sure, but you know that you're going to lose a quarter. You're going to lose a quarter. When you have such a dramatic event happening, whatever happens in the best case scenario, you're going to delay 1 quarter your annual forecast. Yeah. So already when we're growing like 35 to 40% a year, we are investing a lot. We have 200 openings. In February, we had 200 hirings going on. 80 of them already in either probation period or just received an offer and ready to start. So the first action we took was to hiring freeze. Very in beginning of March, late February, to make sure that we contain the cost until we have more information on how things will go. So that's the first. And cut me if I'm too talkative, but that's the first. That's the first step we took.
Yeah.
And
the first thing was real about kind of like refocusing, looking at priorities, looking at costs, making sure that you're taking a conservative stance, I guess.
Yeah, everything that we could do, again, to protect the company until we know what's going on, to protect the employment of our existing employees, and therefore, so hiring freeze, postponing every starter, because basically in this particular crisis, we are in lockdown, so we cannot even welcome them in any office. Hard to train them, even if it's feasible, it's much harder, definitely. So we postpone the new starter and we renew all probation trial period to be ready for the worst in a way. So that's the first thing we did. The second thing we did was and that's really thanks to the finance team and the CFO in place, to increase the granularity of our reporting and the frequency of our reporting, but big time. That's mean today we have a daily monitoring of all the operation, all the key KPIs that are critical for defining how is our business health, and where we are going, are reported on a daily basis or measured on a daily basis, which is...
That reminds me, if I can interrupt, that reminds me, it's a bit like if you're on, I know you're a keen sailor, and if you're on a boat and you got a great visibility, you set your course and then you can just keep looking and it's quite easy to see and you've got confidence. But when the visibility closes in, when you got fog and whatever, you need to keep looking very often, right? You need to keep adjusting all the time. I guess that's what you're saying. When visibility is low, you need to increase the frequency of walking around the boat and seeing where you are, right?
That's true. You have even a better analogy, which is the flying. Huh? If you are in visual flight roles, you can look at the horizon. If you go into the cloud, then you move to look at the instrument. You look at the reporting, the data to take decision. So it's really, so you need to have the right data. And we are blessed to have an amazing team on the statistical data analysis and the finance team to be able to produce this. So once you have this, you can have the lagging indicator, but also try to define what will be the leading indicators and how you're going to monitor them to understand how bad things are going or will be going, and when will be the rebound, so that you can start reinvesting. So that's the second thing we do. So change the reporting frequency and granularity. The third thing we did was to set from the very beginning of the crisis, very frequent communication, forum with the team, with the entire team, all hands every fortnight, every 2 weeks, and all hands with Q&A, very transparent. We have an organization where we prone really transparency, and so we answer questions. We try to reinsure the staff on the fact that we are in control as much as we can be, but for the internal factors, we are in control of the situation. We are lucky on the sense that we've just raised capital not long ago, so we are pretty safe on this side. However, we try to reinsure the team. We try to make sure that the team is able to deliver, is able to continue to work, and if they have any question, that we can address them, basically. So that's for the entire team, and we set a bi-weekly meeting with the entire Xcom to decide on what's the plan. We call it the COVID plan, as probably everybody does. but we have set up those meetings, and quickly we decided to separate the meeting in two groups. One meeting for offensive and one meeting for defensive action plan, because we thought that every time we were mixing both, it wasn't that effective. You need to
and just to expand on that, because I know we've talked about this in the past, right? So the defensive, obviously, it's all the business continuity measures you're taking, and the offensive is, okay, how do we come out of this as fast as we can? How do we take advantage of this? You know, where's the needs in our customer base?
Yes.
Yeah, how do we serve people more powerfully?
Yeah, so we looked at it on the offensive plan. So how can we turn this crisis into an advantage for Ecovadis? And we look at it for like during the operational lockdown, just during, how do you remain resilient, to the crisis, and how you get prepared for the rebound, and what will be the new normal. So around those axes. So we try to find idea, and also around our main pillars, which are, it's quite standard, but the customer, the employees, the shareholder, and then the society, the community, planet and society. That's how we call it. So for each of those pillars, we try to find idea and collect idea from the team, opening a idea box email where anyone can send their recommendation or idea they have on the subject, and really empower the team to monitor this plan and to extract content from the organization and make sure that we use whatever spare time we may gain because of the slowdown in the activity to continue to create value for the organization. So we did it again, offensive and defensive. In the defensive one, it was organized. It's organized by business unit, and it's quite standard. So that's what we've done.
So let me. I think that's great. So let me just play that back, right? Just to summarize. So, you froze costs where possible, kept costs under control, accelerated the frequency of reporting, you accelerated the frequency of communication. You actually accelerated the frequency of decision-making with your executive team, offensive and defensive. So I think that's a really nice kind of summary, right, of how in those, when uncertainty comes in, you need to kind of speed up the frequency of things, communicate more than ever. And if you say plan for the worst, hope for the best, plan for the worst, which is nice. So let me ask, how have these difficult times, and you say you've had several of them over the years, how have they forced you to grow as a leader? What have you learned through those periods, or how have you had to grow?
Well, I think you probably, there is things that you learn you don't even know that you learn. Actually, the behavior that we have today, and it's quite nice to be managing a company with two CEO. To have a co-CEO team, because you have sometimes the yin and the yang, And my background make me extremely safe. I behave extremely in a safe manner in this
Right.
context. My co-founder, Pierre-François, is more, all right, let's invest to be ready for when we come out of the crisis. I say, hold on.
So you're playing defense, you play defense, and he's playing offense, which brings both
Exactly.
sides together, which is
So
nice.
that makes life much easier. Itself, your schizophrenia need to make it
really
work
nice.
in the right direction. So you learn. So this is, I mean, the way we behave today is, I behave today toward this crisis is endlessly a result of the trauma of, for instance, 2001. But what I learned, again, it's you need to be ready for the worst. You need to anticipate in a proactive manner. And personally, I tell myself, I really make sure, I mean, it's really hard to turn down hirings, or maintain the hiring freeze when you know that people are overloaded sometimes, very busy, ambitious targets. It's hard. And if you look at it at every case by case, it's hard to take a decision to maintain the strategy that we've defined, which is to preserve, to stay on the safe side, sail far from the rock, basically. And I think what I learned is that you need to be firm on that. One thing that for sure you don't know, especially in a crisis like this one, which is potentially a camelback crisis, meaning the main problem is not the economy, but the problem we are facing today may trigger a problem tomorrow in the economy, which is probably what we can think that it might happen this way. We'll see in 2 months or 3 months time how it goes, but so we have to be extremely safe. So that's something I've learned. The communication, over communicate. Let's not assume people understand whatever messaging you are pushing forward. That's something that open communication, but two ways. Having people also asking their question. And one more thing I would add, I mean, you need to stay in control of the game. It's like when you fly or when you sail or when you drive, you need to be in control of the game. And in a way, what you certainly don't want is to demotivate the entire team, and to not make sure that they are really, we are really pushing it. And what we've been really communicating as a message internally is that, there are external factors that we cannot control, but there are internal factors that we can certainly control. And we keep telling the team, because I really believe it's true, is that the way we're going to get out of this situation and this crisis, how well are we going to be able to get out, will be directly correlated in our ability to create momentum today and to do whatever needs to be done in order to go the extra miles, so that we can convince customer, retain customer, make sure that the team is still performing, and the mood, the overall mood, and a little bit our company, Richard. So the energy that we are able to maintain, it's extraordinary. And I hope that we're going to be able to get out all together from this crisis, meaning we won't have to go further than the cost reduction through the hiring freeze that we've decided. But if it has to go this way, it will be only once. We will do it only once. That's another mistake that we did in 2001, is we didn't do one restructuring. Sorry, we went into something progressive, which was terrible.
Complicated, Yeah, so I love that focus on what can you control. There's a friend of mine called Kent Julian. He has a phrase: E plus R equals O. Events plus your response to the events equals the outcome. And so events we can't control. Our response to the events we can control, and it's the two of those that will create the outcome.
Yes, and just last comment is, again, if you imagine that, so we have the financial health to be able to absorb part of the cost of this crisis without having to, restructure the company and fire people. But we do that on the basis that we trust the team is able to create value still on the time that they don't have, to be busy with the client or with support because there is less call. And this is exactly the case. So it's really a time where we can refocus as well on what we need to strengthen internally so that we continue to have solid foundation for building the future.
Yes, lay the foundations. Absolutely. Yeah, it's the time to double down to get it ready for growth.
Yes. Exactly.
So a couple of quick questions, Fred, so before we start. This has been really helpful. I just love those, those 5 kind of key pillars we discussed, and offense and defense, the advantages of having two CEOs, the number of great topics we've talked about. Let me just ask you a few kind of personal questions, put you on the spot, some rapid fire questions. So, do you have a favorite book? What would that be?
Well, I don't read much, but clearly the user manuals are my favorites. I love user manuals, but complex one, like operating handbooks.
Okay.
No, I love this one. No, but on the on business book for sure. One book that I really recommend is The Innovator Dilemma. I love this book because it's so incredible to see how we can be blinded by success and to take the wrong decision, and how do you manage innovation within an organization. I really recommend this book because it has amazing insights.
No, it's a great book. And it's really about how companies make the right decisions at every stage, but it ends up being the wrong decision, right? It really great.
No, it's
How about your kind of top productivity tip? What do you do to keep yourself productive? Obviously, you're juggling a lot of things. What's been really helpful for you?
Wow. Well, clearly, there is a kind of routine. I try to block spot, but I mean, it's not breakthrough and not very original, but I really try to block spot in my calendar and condense meeting, so that it's really highly focused during all those meetings that goes, the whole day, and then have other day where I can think on how to prepare. I mean, not how, but to prepare those meetings. I learned this from, I used to live in the US, where I just moved back recently. And in fact, because the team is spread all over the world, but many people are in Europe, we were extremely busy in the morning and a lot of time in the afternoon, because on the west of the US there is nothing. You go back to the east to go to Hong Kong or Asia, they are sleeping. They are sleeping during the afternoon in New York. So that's a productivity tip that I would share.
Yeah, so batching your time, right, bringing things together. It's great as well. I agree. Otherwise, you end up with a Swiss cheese kind of diary where you're always switching. You're always switching.
Yeah.
Who's a leader that inspires you?
Well, quite a few actually, but of course the traditional one. I'm totally amazed by Steve Jobs for sure. Even though it's quite standard. No, that's it. I don't have much. I don't have many actually.
Okay. What about here's a good one. Childhood hero. Who was a hero for you as a child? Who inspired you or excited you as a child?
I don't even dare to tell you. The hero was called Fantomet.
Fantomet. My wife loves Fantomet.
You know her?
My wife is a fan. I'm probably throwing her under the bus now.
Yeah, normally is the wife. No. That's one of them.
Okay, sure. So for anybody who doesn't know who Fantomet is can go and Google and find out. Do you have a favorite quote or motto?
Yeah, well, the motto is that it's the one we use at Ecovadis. Work smart, have fun, and make the difference. That's what we say. It's I think really work smart is extremely important. We came from a world where people were working hard, I think we really have to, I mean, we love the shift to be working smart. So.
Great. Well, hey, that was all I wanted to ask you, Fred. Before we leave, where can people find out more about you or about Ecovadis? Where should they go?
Okay, about me, they're not going to find anything because I grew up in an environment where to be happy, you stay hidden. But about the company, ecovadis.com, clearly they find everything online. Yeah, we're saving the world. So happy to have more supporter everywhere. Yeah.
Great. Well, thanks again, Fred. Great for you to join us today, and look forward to continuing our conversations.
Okay, thanks, Richard.
Bye
Take
now.
care. Bye-bye.
I hope you enjoyed this conversation. Now let's turn to you. If you're a top performer who's already accomplished great things and yet knows that there's a whole new level of impact and potential open to you, then why don't we get on the phone and strategize on how to get you there? Head over to xquadrant.com/speak to find out more. Until next time, be bold and be purposeful.